Good morning or good afternoon or evening whenever you're watching this. This was just the morning time for me whenever I was going out to see my chickens that morning. When I'm working in the garden, I do let them out right now. They just kind of scratch around and peck around where we've uncovered and harvested from some beds. They like to dig around in there and find some bugs and goodies for them. So I do have, I keep in the shade under their coop. I'm going to pull this out real quick. A little black, I don't even know what it originally was for when my husband bought it. I don't even know what part of the hardware store you even buy this. It's a little black, not even a bucket really, this basin. It's rubber. Anyway, I keep it under the coop with some fresh water in there for them to stand in and cool off. And in the afternoon, I'll actually go change the water again and put ice in it. It's just been so hot, just trying to give them some way to cool off. But I use that water and I dump it in there with my peppers just because it's kind of full of poop and muck. So it's pretty nutrient dense for my peppers. So I got the hose in there, refilling that, and give them some fresh water they can stand in to cool off their little toes. So here I'm checking, this is our nesting boxes right here. I'm about to check to see if there's any eggs in the nesting boxes. But I peek in and no eggs, and I'm going to show you what I find. This is what I always find in the morning. They don't tend to lay eggs so much in the morning. So you peek in right here, and there they are. And they always have two in a box. I don't know why, they always cram in there together. And sometimes they'll lay an egg not in the box. There's one peeking out back there. So we'll check again later. I usually find most of my eggs in the afternoon. So this is my purple hull peas and pinto beans in this bed that I'm watering here. You can see my grow bags hanging. We're about to put some cattle panel up there for the pinto beans to grow up on because they are a vining bean. The purple hull peas are a bush style and the other ones are a pole style. So getting these watered. I've had to plant a few successions of those because some of them are not germinating. So here I am planting some squash that I started in my house with the Vermont compost, if you saw that video prior. Little spoiler alert, I'm planting these in the morning and when I go out to do my afternoon watering and icing down my chickens, and they were already dead. It is just that hot. You can see my pumpkin vine there in the foreground of that bed, and it's growing nice, and I have a tall sunflower and a couple of zucchini plants on the back side of that sunflower. The vine borers got to my zucchinis and they are already gone. But this pumpkin and sunflower, I've started direct sowed seed in the ground and they are doing fine. I did 4 of those sunflowers, only one of them worked or germinated. So I actually have 2 more I'm about to plant that I started inside, and they died that day also. And it's just so hot here. I'm just keeping things in my house even longer. I started more zucchini, more squash, more sunflowers, more everything to try and I'm gonna win. I'm gonna get some crops out of this fall garden. So here's my sunflower going in, and I just thought these growing up tall in the middle of these low vining plants would be very pretty and give them a little bit of shade. Speaking of shade, over my back, you'll see in a second, my husband did put up some 40% shade cloth to try and shade part of the garden. We only have 1 up so far. We have bought 4 of them. And we did put 1 up over the chicken run also to try and get some shade going to just give some kind of relief. It's kind of in a makeshift structure right now. My husband didn't want me to draw attention to it because it is very makeshift at the moment, but we were just trying to do something with these 105-degree temperatures days and days and days in a row with no rain. There you can kind of see it there. And those are my tomatillo plants right back there. We're gonna water those and harvest some tomatillos for later in this video. We make our tomatillo salsa. This is a purple tomatillo. It's a smaller variety. It's not the usual big green tomatillos. They're like the size of a tomato. These are smaller. These are more the size of, let's say, a large marble. I'm trying to think of what else would be that size. Bigger than a grape, smaller than a plum. It's just like a large marble size. Deep purple color. They're very pretty. I really like this color, and I'll probably keep planting this, but I'll probably get some of the green regular size also to kind of mix in when I make my tomatillo salsa, because it just takes so many of them to make any quantity. So today, when we make this salsa together, it ended up only getting 2 half-pint jars out of what I make. So we eat a lot of salsa, and this salsa was so good, and I think we just need bigger quantity of the salsa. There's my pepper plants over my shoulder. I know that was really quick. All right, girls, let's go back in. Welcome back. This is Louisiana Cooking and Living. My name is Katie. I'm so glad y'all joined me today. Today we're going to be doing some food preservation projects. As you just saw, we were out in the garden together with the chickens. I let them kind of scratch around in the garden area while I'm out there. And I picked some tomatillos yesterday and today, and some peppers. I have some sugar rush peach peppers and some jalapenos, and we're going to make a salsa. I've been collecting some tomatillos as they've ripened, and what I'll do is I roast them in a cast iron skillet, and then I just put them in the freezer until I have enough to make the salsa. So I think today we have enough to make the salsa. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to be making some hot dog chili sauce and canning that. I've never done that before, so this will be a new recipe for me and for you. And then with my sweet potatoes I harvested a few weeks ago, I think I'm going to can some cubed ones to make roasted sweet potatoes, and some French fries. We'll do a dry canning process. And then I have some white potatoes that I bought at the store. My potato harvest was the pits this year. First time ever growing potatoes. Sweet potatoes did really well, but the white potatoes slash new, I guess red potatoes, those didn't do so hot. So we're gonna can some potatoes and sweet potatoes today, and then I'm gonna make some garlic infused oil if we have time, and then my roasted almonds that I put. We have Caesar salad quite often because it's such an easy salad to throw together really quickly, and I always have some roasted almonds that I put on there with my seasoning blend. So I'm going to show you today how easy it is to make those. I just store them in the fridge, and I have my crunchy topping to go on my Caesar salad. And I think that's all we are going to get to today. Hopefully we can get through all these projects. I was using bacon in a previous recipe I was making for dinner tonight. And I got bacon in the oven, so that's cooking while we're doing all this. So just getting a lot of stuff done in the kitchen today while football starts today on TV, college football. So my husband and sons are in there watching. They're busy, and I get to be in the kitchen all day. So we're going to get this done. And first thing we're going to do is get our tomatillos roasting for our salsa, and along with some garlic and some onion. So I'm going to turn the camera down and we'll get started. Okay, so one thing I can do real quick and get this one project out of the way while we are going to be working on our salsa is to do the garlic infused oil. I have made some in the past. All I did was a short on it on YouTube, and I keep it in this little decanter jar, but as you can see I'm almost empty. So we're going to make some more so I can refill my jar. One of my favorite things they sell at Costco, I've showed this to you before, is this organic garlic cloves. And I'm to the bottom of my bag. I need to go ahead and use them up. That's why I'm going to go ahead and make some more. I need some oil, and I need to use up the rest of my garlic. So we'll use this in our salsa and in our infused oil, and we'll get that going. And so this is one of my favorite things to get at Costco. It's already peeled, and they are $8 or $9 for this 3 pounds of organic garlic cloves. And then I just get my avocado oil in this big jug from Costco also. So I know y'all have seen me do this in the past. I like to cut a little stem piece off the back of my garlic cloves. My husband says I'm crazy for doing that, but that's just what I like to do. Some of these cloves are looking a little iffy. Like I said, it was time to use them up. You can put them in the freezer if you're not going to use them, you think, quick enough. Or like today, I could have put them in the freezer instead of doing this, but while I'm in the kitchen today, I'm going to go ahead and get these done. Some of them look like they've been in the freezer from being in the back of my fridge. My back of my fridge gets pretty cold. I'm just going to get a bowl to put all my scraps in for my compost. Let me grab that. Alright, there's no perfect recipe, I think, for making this. I just throw some cloves of garlic in here with the oil and just let them simmer. So I cut up these bigger ones, a little bit smaller. And let them simmer for a little while on the stove, and that just infuses my oil. I'm not going to use quite as many today because I do need some of this garlic for my salsa. Alright, we're just going to pour some avocado oil. You could do olive oil if you wanted that. I'll just get this on the stove simmering. And then we'll come back and get our tomatillos together. Alright, if you've never seen a tomatillo before, they come in this little paper husk. Usually they're bigger than this and they're green, but like I've said in the past, my favorite color is purple. And so I bought this seed variety that's purple tomatillos, and they are a smaller variety. So what I'm going to do is just peel them and throw them right here in my cast iron skillet. You know when your tomatillos are ready when the skin starts to separate on them. And sometimes they'll even drop to the ground. I'm not sure if in the video earlier when I was in the garden I had picked some up off the ground. They are kind of have a sticky texture on the outside. The tomatillos, they're not a tomato. They are their own little fruit, I guess you'd say, because they do have seeds. But they have a tartness about them, so they're really good for a salsa. Kind of like how you put lime in your salsa. These have a tartness. We are going to add some lime to this, though, today, because we are going to can this salsa. So usually if you see a green salsa at a Mexican restaurant, it's made with tomatillos, not green tomatoes. And so it'll be interesting the color we're going to come out with this, because the peppers we're using are a yellow peachy color. And I am using my onions from the garden. This is all the onions I got out of my garden. I didn't realize how closely together you could plant your onions. So I did not plant them as densely as I could have and had a lot bigger harvest. I'm not going to get these wet to peel them. I guess that can make it easier if you did under running water, because I want to roast them in the skillet, so I don't want to get them wet. Alright, we're going to throw some garlic in here. And when I make my salsa, I kind of have a general idea on amounts, but I really don't follow a recipe per se to know exactly you need this many garlic cloves, this many tomatillos or tomatoes. I'm making a tomato sauce. I do have a roasted tomato salsa. I can put a link at the top here on one of the cards if you want to go and see how I make that one also. I find the roasting gives it a depth of flavor that you don't get from just doing fresh tomatoes. I mean, the tomatoes aren't cooked, or the tomatillos, it's just the outsides get charred. It just gives a different flavor. Brings out the sweetness, I guess you could say. We love garlic in our family too, and so I do add a lot of garlic to my salsa. Alright, this will be the last one maybe. So, this was my whole onion harvest. That was it. So we're going to get these cleaned up, and we'll throw just the little bulbs in here. Probably have to use them all since they're so tiny. Some of them are a little bigger, but of course nowhere near a regular onion. That might be my biggest one. So we'll get these cleaned up, and then we'll put them in the skillet also. Okay, I think we have enough onions here. See, they're kind of tiny. With these tomatillos, and then the tomatillos that I already have roasted that I had put in the freezer. So we'll get these on the burner, and we'll get these roasting. Here's my bacon I got cooked up. We'll save this bacon grease for later use in different cooking projects. While we have our oven preheated, I am going to go ahead and get our almonds together for roasting in the oven. So I did my bacon on 350 because it was a thinner sliced bacon, so I'm going to turn it down to like a 275, 300 to roast the almonds. So we'll get that turned down. All right, these are just sliced, slivered almonds, and this is how easy and how quick this comes together. I dump a pile of these on here. Kind of see how they're going to fit in my sheet pan. See if I can put more in here. That looks good. I will drizzle with some butter. This is my seasoning blend again. I season them up. Again, we like garlic, so I add a little bit of extra garlic, granulated garlic here. Add some extra salt because this is an unsalted nut. And my seasoning blend doesn't have a lot of salt. We're going to give it a toss, and we're just going to repeat the process. And then while you're in the kitchen working, these toast in the oven. It's pretty hands off. It takes less than 5 minutes to throw it together, pretty hands off, and then you have homemade, crunchy, yummy topping for your salad, or I guess whatever you would use this with. You do want to give them a toss maybe a couple of times during the roasting process, toasting process, because you don't want them to burn. The butter will burn on it if you don't make sure you toss it. Alright, we'll get these in the oven. And this is, let's see, we have our garlic going in the oil. We have our vegetables roasting for our salsa. We've done our bacon, and we have this going in the oven. So we are doing good. We'll move on to making, we'll get the chili cooking, then we can cut up our potatoes for our fries to can. So we'll get these in the oven. Alright, so I found this recipe for this hot dog chili sauce on TikTok, and I will leave the man's name and page in the description box. I don't remember offhand. I was kind of skeptical when I first saw it, and but it looked really good, so we'll try it. I'm only going to make half the recipe he made, just in case. I don't want to make a whole bunch of this and then not be I'm very excited about it. We don't eat a lot of hot dogs, but you know, occasionally you're like, a chili dog kind of sounds good. So I'd rather make my own hot dog chili than buying the canned stuff with ingredients that you are just not sure about. This way I can control my ingredients and the quality of them. So we're going to finally dice. Again, I'm going to have this recipe. I have it written down as the whole recipe, and I'll read out the whole recipe to you. And then I'll also, I guess, put the recipe down in the description box. So he has 3 onions chopped fine. So I'm going to do, this onion was pretty big. It was one of those like Texas super sweet onions or whatever. So it was a large onion. So I have that onion, and then I have some onion that was in my fridge already diced. So we'll get this diced up real quick. Excuse me, I taste that bacon and I feel like I have a piece stuck in my throat. I haven't really eaten today, so I'm starting to get a little hungry. This recipe kind of starts off weird because it starts off with water. And you just cook your ground meat in the water. You don't brown it. So I thought that was kind of weird, but we'll go with it and see how we do. It looked good. So the recipe calls for 7 cups of water. We will do 3 cups, like I said. And we'll move over to the stove. We'll check on our roasting vegetables and our simmering garlic oil and get this chili going. Alright, so we have our garlic roasting back here in the oil, just infusing that oil. And then we're going to check on our veggies here for our salsa. Getting some nice charring on that. Most important thing is your garlic. You don't want them to burn. I try to keep those to the outside of the skillet so they're not on the hotter part over the flame. And then as these garlic cloves, or all the vegetables, start toasting, we will pull them out. But I wanted to get these flipped first, and then we'll check on everything else. And you see that nice charring we got going on there. If you've never tried tomatillo salsa, you can buy tomatillos in the grocery store in the produce. They even have them canned over, like by the Mexican food. I'm not sure about using the canned ones for salsa, but I say give it a try. It's really good. Alright, I'm just going to turn this burner off and let them finish with the residual heat because they're looking pretty good. And then we'll move on to the chili. So the chili we're going to make in this pot here, I'm going to get my burner on. And then I'm going to grab 3 cups of water, like I said. Actually, I guess we're going to do 3.5 cups of water because the original recipe is 7 cups. Yeah, so 3.5 cups of water in there. And then we will do 3 pounds of ground meat. So I buy ground meat at Costco because they have the grass-fed organic ground beef there. For $5 a pound. I think it's the best place to buy it. But all mine's in the freezer. So I was at Walmart getting the ground meat I needed for today for this recipe and my other recipes. And they have this organic grass-fed ground meat. This is what I'm using. But it's almost $6 a pound. So for one recipe, I think that's okay to do that. This is going to make quite a bit of hot dog chili, I think. I hope. Alright, so that's our 3 pounds of ground meat. Use whatever kind you want to use. You don't have to buy the kind I buy. I'm going to wash my hands. Alright, he says we are going to, bring this to a boil and then mash this up in the process. Again, it doesn't look very appealing, very appetizing, but if you think of what hot dog chili looks like, it is just kind of mushed up meat. But at least we know it's real meat. It's the meat we chose, and it's not some questionable meat product. I'm gonna turn my burner up so we can get this up to a boil. And then we're gonna just add in all of our other ingredients. So next is all of our onion. Without try not to make a mess getting it in there. Next, he says 3 tablespoons of salt. So we'll do a tablespoon and a half. Same with pepper, paprika, and garlic powder. So a tablespoon and a half. Pepper. Paprika. And the garlic powder. Alright, so we're going to do 3 tablespoons of sugar. Well, yes, he calls for 6, so we're going to do 3. The next thing he says is Texas Pete, but I don't have that. And I usually have Crystal or Louisiana hot sauce, but all we had was this habanero sauce. So this is what we're going to use. So we're going to do 3 tablespoons of this. This might be the whole bottle. It's going to be some spicy, it says it's habanero, so it's going to be some spicy chili. Alright. There's just a little bit left. And then 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire. So the next ingredient says 3/4 of a cup of chili powder and ketchup. And so we're having this recipe. So I'm going to do like 1/3 of a cup. Again, we are just guessing. Let me get a knife. So there's our chili powder. And now we'll do ketchup. Now he says hot or spicy ketchup. I don't have spicy ketchup, but we are using that habanero hot sauce, so we're just using a regular ketchup. It's a new bottle. It's not one to squeeze because it's not getting air back in there. Alright. Give this a stir. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cover this and let it boil for 15 minutes. And then we will uncover it and let it boil for 5 minutes after we add some tomato paste. at that time. Kind of looking like hot dog chili, guys. Alright, so I'm going to get the lid out for this, and then we will let this boil for 15 minutes. And we'll check on our almonds while we're here. Alright, so here they are. Just give them a toss. I'll put these back in the oven. Okay, y'all. I'm kind of dumb. I totally forgot to roast my peppers, so I had to end up doing that. This is what a Sugar Rush peach pepper looks like. They are slightly sweet, but a little spicier than a jalapeno. So this is one of the peppers that I started growing this year. I have a lot of them. I'm going to make some, maybe some cowboy candy with some. Anyway, so I have 4 of those in here that I pulled all my tomatillos out, and then I threw 2 red jalapenos and then 4 of the Sugar Rush peach peppers in here, and we'll see how that does with the spiciness. Again, I'm kind of winging this recipe, and we'll see how it goes and what we need to do to fix it. You can always fix your recipes, guys. All right, we're going to throw all of our tomatillos. Of course, this is more than you saw earlier because I had some in the freezer, like I said. And my onions and my garlic. So we're throwing all that in there. I'm going to throw my peppers in here. They're still hot. And then we are going to put, we'll say like a teaspoon of cumin. And then we will do 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. Add just a little bit of sugar, about half a teaspoon. Now, if you've watched any of my videos before that I've mentioned cilantro, because I have done a roasted salsa video before, I don't like cilantro. My husband doesn't like cilantro. I don't like cilantro. You would put cilantro in here if you like cilantro because that's typically what's in it and what makes it so bright green. So my daughter calls this a lemoner. Not a juicer, it's a lemoner because it looks like a lemon. That's what she called it when she was young. Anyway, so we are going to start with, we're just going to start with half a lime just because tomatillos are kind of tart. And we can always add more, like I said. And we are going to just give this a whiz. Alright, these are our favorite grocery store chips. These Cantina Thins. We like how light and crispy they are. So they are our favorite. Let's see if I can find a big enough one to hold some salsa in here. Kind of at the bottom of the bag. Alright, I'm just going to use my spoon to scoop it because I don't want to contaminate this whole thing of it since I'm going to can it. I should have showed you what color this is. You can see it. It's kind of like a purple color from our purple tomatillos. Y'all, that is spicy, but it is really good. I think I'm just going to add a little bit of salt to it, and that is it. That is super spicy. You know what? I think I'm going to add a little bit more lime too. I have a smaller half here. All right, I'm going to just give this a quick whiz to mix it together, and then we'll get it in our jars to can. I'm gonna clean up this mess, and we will be putting this in our jars. And salsa, because it is got the lime in it and the tartness, the acidity level is appropriate for some. Could be considered rebel canning. We are going to water bath can this. We will be pressure canning the chili that we're making and the French fries, but this we are going to be water bath canning. All right, so I had my jars heating in here because our salsa is warm because we did roast our vegetables. So I did have my jars heating in my canner while the water in here is getting hot. And I only pulled out 4 jars. I have more jars in here because I was going to use the jars also for the chili. And I want them hot because our chili will be hot, and we need to have the same temperature jars as we do our food that's going into the jar. So I'm going to start with my little jars here. I don't want a lot at a time because I don't want it to go bad. And then I do have one bigger jar in case we have company coming or something. So this isn't a lot of salsa, like I said. So I'm just going to spoon it into our jars. And when you're water bath canning, look at this, I'm probably only going to get 2 jars of it. It's easy to just make something real quick, just one little recipe, and then get it in your canner. Because it only takes, I looked up in my ball canning cookbook for a tomatillo salsa. So it is not a rebel-ish recipe to do it this way. And it only takes 15 minutes in the water bath canner. Alright, so we got 2 jars. And then get our lids on here. If you've watched any of my canning videos, you forgot to wipe my rims off. Let me get my paper towel to wipe my rims off. That's something you got to do. All right, we're dipped in vinegar. We're going to wipe our rims off here. Make sure they're clean so our lids seal properly. Take our new lids and put them on. And then our rings go fingertip tight. And yes, I do have my big old canner out here for my 2 jars, but I'm also heating my jars up for my chili. So we're going to get these in here, and we're going to bring it back to a boil. And we're going to boil these for 15 minutes once it comes to a boil. I'll put this one back in here so it stays hot for my chili. Alright, we're going to turn the temperature back up and get this back to a boil. Put our lid on. I did pull these almonds out of the oven, and here they are. Alright. And I just wanted to, I have a can of hot dog chili in my pantry. I'm going to turn this camera up so you can see me better. So this is why canning and making your food homemade is just the best route if you can and have the time, and you don't have to have expensive equipment to water bath or to pressure can. So for meat products, because they are low acidity, you pressure can. There are those that are rebel canners, quote unquote, and they do what our grandparents did, or our great-grandparents, or people in Europe, or the Amish community. They will water bath can for 3 hours a low acidity food. I'm not going to recommend that, but they will do that. And I do have a pressure canner, so that's what we'll be using today for our chili. But I did have a can of, I'm not going to say the brand, of hot dog chili in my pantry, and I want to read the ingredient list to you. And this is why I wanted to make my own chili. So let me get under the light. Water. Okay, we started with water. Crushed beans. Okay, you could put beans in your chili. That's fine. Beef fat. There's no beef in this. It says it is hot dog chili sauce. It looks like it's got meat in it, but it just says beef fat, which I'm all for tallow. and using that for cooking. I've made French fries with tallow. But if you're going to kind of say I mean, they don't say they're a beef product, but anyway. Tomatoes, mustard, salt, protein concentrate. Is that supposed to be the beef? Brown sugar, fine. MSG. There you go. Don't want MSG in my body. Flavorings, those are chemicals we don't need in our body that cause cancer. Also, caramel color, again, that's something we don't need in our bodies. So this is just full of stuff that I know when my kids are little, I didn't have the time. I homeschooled my 4 kids. I didn't have time to do all this. I didn't have the knowledge that I needed to do all this. I've learned as I've gotten older, and I've researched more. We're to a boil, so we're going to set a timer for 15 minutes. Sorry. The more I've researched, the more I've found that putting all these chemicals in our body is not good. There's so many diseases out there now that our grandparents didn't have, our great-grandparents didn't have, the cancers, the diabetes, the heart disease, all that stuff. So I'm trying to do what I can when I can to be healthier. I know I don't look so healthy, but we're trying. We are doing what we can when we can. So we're trying to grow our own vegetables in the garden, trying to raise our own eggs. So we're just trying to do what we can. So we have this going, and I did forget to get my tomato paste at the grocery store for my chili. So my husband ran to the store to get the chili paste, and as soon as he gets back, we will finish the chili paste, or finish the chili and get that in the canner also. Okay, so we're back with the chili. I did end up cooking it longer than it said because I just wanted a thicker consistency. I ended up adding twice the tomato paste that it said to put in there. I ended up adding some cumin. So again, recipes are just to go by. I added cumin, added a little more salt, and then I actually ended up adding some mustard to it. So I will still put the guy's name in the description box that this recipe originated from, but just so you know, I did not completely follow the recipe. And so we're going to get this in our jars. I do have my pressure canner here coming to temperature. My jars are hot. They just came out of my water bath canner with our salsa. Okay. And so we're going to get our chili into our jars. So these are pint jars, because I figured that's about how much we would need for our family for a hot dog. This is, again, hot dog chili sauce. It's not like a chili that you're going to eat for a meal. So it looks like we're going to get 6 pints out of this. So when you're using the pressure canner, you need to look at your instruction manual for what you're canning. Mine calls for 3 quarts of water in the bottom. So that's what I put in the bottom of mine. I'm not sure if every canner is the same because this is the canner I have. Try and even these out a little bit so that the other jar is not a lot less than these. All right. I am going to look at my ball canning cookbook at the chili and there and see what they say is the correct pressure. I think it's 15 pounds. Actually, that was potatoes when I looked up the potatoes to make the french fries. I'm going to consult the ball canning cookbook. I'm going to wipe my rims off, and then we will get these in the canner. Okay, so this is the ball canning cookbook. And I will leave a link in the description box of all the equipment I've been using today. Just remember that if you do click on a link, you aren't charged any extra by using my links. It just helps me out if you do get it that way if you're wanting to order something. All right, it says to process pint jars for 75 minutes at 10 pounds of pressure. So we will get ours up to 10 pounds of pressure, and then we will process it for 75 minutes for the pints. If you were going to do these in quarts, it says 90 minutes. All right, so I'm going to wipe my rims off. Here's our lids, fingertip tight again. And then we're going to get these in the canner. I'm going to use my jar lifter because the jars are hot. Now we'll get our lid on. You want to make sure your pressure release is moving. All right, so we're going to get this cooking, heating, boiling, whatever you want to call it. And there is a pressure valve over here. And so you want that to vent. Once it starts venting, you let it vent for 10 minutes. And that's when you start seeing your pressure rising in your pressure gauge. And once your pressure gets up to pressure, that's when you start your timer for your 75 minutes, I think is what it said. So always follow your instructions with your canner, with pressure canning, because you want to make sure it's safely canning if you are using the pressure canner. You don't want any accidents, any explosions, any unsafe cooking food material, anything like that. So I will get this all canned up, and we will come back together when we are finished and go over everything we covered today. My dishwasher, let's see, is open right here because I've been trying to get my dishes done as I'm going along the process, because I hate coming back to a kitchen full of dirty dishes. So do dishes as you're cooking. That's one of my tips. So you don't have a lot to do at the end. We'll be back together whenever this is finished. Okay, so this has been a productive day. We got a lot done. I even did some stuff off camera that I'm going to show you also, just because it came out of the garden and I need to get it preserved. So first off, we got our bacon with all of our eggs. We are making a lot of bacon and eggs. This is something I did off camera. The Sugar Rush peach peppers, I had a lot of those and some more jalapenos. So I just did 1 jar of like a freezer pickle on these to get them preserved up. Just some peppercorns, salt, red onions, garlic, sliced peppers, and then half vinegar, half water. So that was something real quick to get done. We got a quart of our roasted almonds. I chopped up the bell peppers I've gotten so far out of the garden, and I'm going to put these in the freezer. We also got our garlic oil, which then gave us some roasted garlic to use. I do keep this in the jar when I make my garlic oil. I'll save my garlic cloves and use those for dishes. And as long as you keep the oil level above the garlic level, everything is sealed and preserved and it won't go bad. I got my 2 little jars of tomatillo salsa. I sure hope y'all try this because this is so good. And then we got our 6 jars of our chili sauce. So I hope y'all enjoyed this day of food preservation. It is a long day. It's taken us probably about 5 hours, I guess, to get all this done, but it is a lot done in one time. You get your kitchen dirty and everything's, you're done. You don't have to drag this out over days and days and days. It does make a long day, but it is a very productive day. I hope y'all enjoyed these projects, and I hope y'all try some of this. Let me know if y'all try it. And if there's anything that you think that you'd like to see preserved, let me know. Somebody did comment on wanting some pickled okra or some canned okra. I'm trying to do what I have in my garden right now, but maybe over the winter time whenever, because I'm not growing okra, so it's not something I need to get done and preserved right now. So maybe we'll do that project later on when I don't have other things in my garden I need to take care of. So I hope you subscribe if you like this. Share it with others, please. And I'll leave a link to some other videos you can watch in the meantime. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.